Guys, I don't know how many times I have to explain this to you, but if you haven't heard about Anchor, let me explain what it is. Anchor is the easiest way in the world to make a podcast. First of all, it's free. And to add to that, there are many creation tools that allow you to record and edit your very own podcast right from your phone or computer. I am, in fact, using my phone right now to record this advertisement. So, as I continue, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, many more different podcasting outlets, and in fact, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. All you need is a few listeners, and guess what? You're already making money, and you're already distributing your podcast to all the outlets. Everything you need is in one place, and guess what? Right on the App Store, right on the Google Play Store, you can download the free Anchor app, or on your laptop, you can go to anchor.fm to get started on your very own podcast, just like mine, Athletes in Adversity. Hey guys, welcome to episode number 4 of the Athletes in Adversity podcast. Today we'll be talking about the Madden Curse. And the first Madden cover athlete we will be talking about is from Madden NFL 99. That was the first year a player truly graced the cover of a Madden video game. So with that, make sure to go follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, all at Athletes in Adversity, as well as my Twitter at AthletesPod. Also, go support the show for as little as 99 cents a month right on anchor.fm. Or if you want to be more generous, go pledge up to $50 a month on my Patreon, Athletes in Adversity. So with that, let's get today's show started. So let's start with Madden NFL 99. Garrison Hearst from the San Francisco 49ers was the cover athlete this year. Garrison joined the 49ers in 1997, and after he became the first ever Madden cover athlete, he led the 49ers to the playoffs after a great season, but in the playoffs, in the second round of the playoffs, he suffered a horrifying broken leg injury that caused him to miss the next 2 seasons, and actually the bone in his foot, he had complications with the surgery, and the bone in his foot died. So an early prognosis of the injury indicated that he might never ever play football again. By the way, guys, this is all coming from an article on digitaltrends.com about the Madden cover curse, so I highly recommend you guys go check out this article as well. So let's move on to Madden NFL 2000. Madden NFL 2000 with 2 cover athletes this year, one being Barry Sanders on one console and the other being Dorsey Levens on another console. So with the Sanders cover, Barry Sanders actually retired from the NFL not too long after he was named the cover athlete. So that's really how the curse struck for Sanders. It was a very unexpected exit from the league, and it left a huge void in the Detroit's roster. Barry Sanders only played about 10 years in the NFL. He had a very short career, but made the most of it. So with Dorsey Levens, EA Sports had to put him on the cover because Sanders left abruptly. And he was an athlete that led Green Bay to several playoff runs in the years prior. And the season after appearing on the cover, Dorsey Levens would end up being on his last starting roster in the NFL, and a nagging injury, of course, limited him in 1999. And with that year in 1999, Green Bay posted their worst record since Brett Favre became the team's quarterback in 1992. And Levens, of course, would be released from the Packers in the year 2001. So that was how the curse struck in the year 2000. Let's move on to Madden 2001. Madden 2001, the curse struck again with Eddie George of the Tennessee Titans. He had a great seasons coming before he was on the cover, but nevertheless, Eddie George bobbled a pass in the playoffs that led into the hands of the Baltimore Ravens, and they scored a touchdown, ending the Tennessee Titans season. George, of course, would remain in the NFL for 4 more seasons after that, but he never rushed for more than 1,200 yards in a season ever again. And for the rest of his career, after he was on the Madden cover, he averaged less than 3.4 yards per carry for the remainder of his career. So, with that, let's move on to Madden NFL 2002. Madden 2002, the cover athlete this year was none other than Vikings quarterback Dante Culpepper, and a few months after being named the Madden cover athlete, Dante Culpepper suffered a knee injury during a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and of course he missed the rest of the 2001 season. And after that knee injury to Dante Culpepper, his performance deteriorated the following seasons he was in the NFL. The next season, in fact, he threw for 23 interceptions and only 18 touchdowns. This would be the first years that the actual name Madden Curse was widely referred to when a player was graced the game's cover. So with that, let's move on to Madden NFL 2003. The curse struck again in 2003 with Marshall Faulk of the St. Louis Rams being on the cover of Madden 2003. The season he was on the cover, that was really the start of the decline for Marshall Faulk's career. 2002, it would be the first time in his career he was unable to rush for more than 1,000 yards in a season. And, of course, that decline continued, and he eventually missed the entire 2006 season due to his injured knee that he had to have surgery on. And after the 2006 season, he never returned to the NFL again. Madden NFL 2004 with Michael Vick of the Atlanta Falcons on the cover. Now, of course, Michael Vick, one of the fastest quarterbacks in NFL history, he was put on the cover because of that exact reason. He was actually one of the fastest rated players in Madden NFL video game history, but the curse struck for him, of course, in a preseason game where he fractured his right fibula, and the injury forced him to miss the first 11 games of the season, which of course deteriorated a very, very well put together Atlanta Falcons team that would go on to never be the same again. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying today's episode of the Athletes in Adversity podcast. Make sure to go follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, all at Athletes in Adversity, as well as my Twitter at AthletesPod. Also, go support the show for as little as 99 cents a month right on Anchor.fm. Or if you want to be more generous, go pledge up to $50 a month and receive exclusive benefits on my Patreon, Athletes in Adversity. So with that, let's continue today's episode. Madden NFL 2005 with Ray Lewis of the Baltimore Ravens on the cover. Of course, Ray Lewis, one of the most feared defenders in NFL history. The season following wasn't too bad for Lewis, but he failed to record a single interception in the 2004 season, and that was the first time that ever happened in his entire career. The Ravens also failed to make the playoffs for the first time in several years, and in Week 6 of the following season, Lewis tore his right hamstring, forcing him to miss the season abruptly. Madden NFL 2006 with Donovan McNabb of the Philadelphia Eagles on the cover. Now, McNabb, obviously a decent quarterback. He's been to a Super Bowl. He was okay, but McNabb was on track for a huge season in 2005, but what derailed him was a groin injury that sent him to the IR list for the remainder of the season, and after that he never quite recovered. And the next season in Week 11 he tore his ACL and meniscus in his right knee and was once again sidelined for the season. And after that he would continue to have inconsistent performances in his NFL career and truly never was the same again. Madden 2007 with Sean Alexander of the Seattle Seahawks on the cover. Who even remembers this guy? Who even remembers who Sean Alexander was? But, of course, Sean Alexander, a decent player in his career, but after the 2006 season, he was derailed by a broken foot in Week 3, just a few months after being named the Madden cover athlete, and it would become his first season without 1,000 yards rushing since he became the starter for the Seattle Seahawks. And just to add to that, the season after 2007 and 2008, Alexander was in fact cut from the roster. So you can see where his career went after he was named the Madden cover athlete. This was one of the biggest curses in Madden NFL history. The guy just completely fell off the face of the earth after he was on the Madden cover. Madden 2008 with cover athlete Vince Young. Of course, the BCS National Championship he won in stunning fashion against the University of Texas. He had a stellar first season in the NFL, but after that first season in the NFL, we all know what happened. Vince Young completely fell off the face of the earth. He had a slow start to the 2007 season. He injured his quadricep in Week 6, and he would miss the following week's game, and that was the first time he had ever missed a game due to injury. He would return later into the season to only re-injure himself in the final game of the season. And then, of course, that opened the door for the backup, Kerry Collins. After that, Vince Young, of course, fell off the face of the earth and never really became the player he was supposed to become in the NFL. He had so much hype going into his NFL career. He was on the cover of Madden, and then the curse struck again. Madden NFL 2009 with cover athlete Brett Favre of the Green Bay Packers. But right after he was put on the cover in a Green Bay Packers jersey, he decided he wasn't done with the league after retiring. And then Favre signed, of course, with the New York Jets, who had a decent season with Favre at quarterback, but there was many more off-field issues for Favre. And then he sustained an injury to his right shoulder late in the season, which would plague him for the remaining 3 seasons leading up to his retirement again in 2011. Madden NFL 2010 with cover athletes Larry Fitzgerald of the Arizona Cardinals and Troy Polamalu of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The curse didn't strike for one of these guys, as Fitzgerald had a great season and he set many personal records throughout 2009. On the other hand, Polamalu got the full impact of the Madden curse. He sprained his MCL in the first half of the Week 1 game of the 2009 season, and he was forced to miss the next 4 games of the season. And then he got another injury in November, and that year the Steelers would miss the entire playoffs and finish at 9-7 on the season. Madden NFL 2011 with Drew Brees of the New Orleans Saints on the cover. One of my favorite games of all time in the Madden NFL series. I played the heck out of this game every day when I was a kid. 2010, obviously not a bad season for Drew Brees, but Brees had one of his worst seasons to date when he was on the cover. He was an accurate passer, but threw twice as many interceptions as he had in the previous years, and the team's generally lackluster performance led to a playoff defeat in the first week of the postseason. The loss was especially disappointing, given that the New Orleans Saints lost to Seattle, and that Seattle team, I don't know if you guys remember that game with Marshawn Lynch running through everyone. That was this game, and they were the first team in NFL history to make it into the playoffs with a losing record, and the Saints lost to that Seattle team in the playoffs. Let's talk about Madden NFL 2012 with none other than the infamous Peyton Hillis of the Cleveland Browns, the biggest one-year wonder in NFL history. His troubles began well after the 2011 season when he was on the cover. He had heated contract disputes with the Cleveland Browns, and then physical troubles that led to him including a bout with strep throat and an injured hamstring that had him missing games all season and generally failing to get back in sync with the Cleveland Browns. He ended up only playing 10 games that season and just had 587 rushing yards. What a letdown this guy is. I remember in 2012, he was like the star. He was going to be the next guy in the NFL. And then he just had the worst season ever. I couldn't believe my eyes. This was one of the main curses that struck the series Peyton Hillis. Madden 13, Madden NFL 2013 with cover athlete Calvin Johnson of the Detroit Lions. Of course, Megatron, he was a huge star when he was good. And then, of course, he retired. But he probably had the best case against the Madden Curse. His 2012 season was one of his best seasons overall and featured countless records with the Detroit Lions. He had 1,964 yards receiving throughout the season, and that was the new NFL record that beat the previous record held by none other than Jerry Rice. He also set or tied NFL records for 100-yard games and receptions during the 2012 season. So he was one of the best wide receivers to ever be on the cover and have a great season in the NFL the year he was on the cover. That's Calvin Johnson for you. That's Megatron. Madden 25, obviously a great game in the series of Madden football games, but who was on the cover of the next-gen version of the game? That was none other than Adrian Peterson. He had a great start to the 2013 season. He looked good with a 78-yard rushing touchdown on the first carry of the game, but he struggled for the first half of the season with a nagging foot injury, and he ended up only playing 14 games that season, and the team's record dropped to 5-10-1, and he was declared done for the season in December due to the same aggravating foot injury. And of course, he never really got back to his original form because he was getting older. Madden 15, I played the heck out of this game too, with Richard Sherman of the Seattle Seahawks on the cover. Of course, Sherman had another great all-star season during the 2014 NFL season. He led the Seahawks defense, helping Seattle return to the Super Bowl for the second consecutive season. Although the team did lose to the New England Patriots in the championship game, so that was really how the curse struck Sherman. The Seahawks announced that Sherman might need Tommy John surgery during the offseason to repair a torn ligament in his left elbow. However, Sherman later announced he would opt to heal naturally rather than get the surgery. And then, of course, Sherman went on to get cut by the Seattle Seahawks and signed with the San Francisco 49ers a few years later. Madden NFL 16 with cover athlete OBJ of the New York Giants. The curse didn't strike this year, as the season that Odell was on the cover, he had some of the greatest season in his career. He finished with 1,450 receiving yards and 13 touchdowns, and he actually recorded higher numbers than the year before he was named the cover athlete of the game. Of course, Rob Gronkowski, Madden NFL 2017 of the New England Patriots. Gronk missed the first two games of the 2016 season with a hamstring injury, and he appeared a bit in weeks 3 and 4, but he didn't start until week 5 against the Cleveland Browns, where he racked up 109 receiving yards, and he was productive throughout the Patriots' next 5 games, but in week 11 against the Seattle Seahawks, he suffered a pulmonary contusion after being on the receiving end of a huge hit by Seahawks defensive back Earl Thomas. He was kept out of the Week 11 contest against the San Francisco 49ers, but he came back into the lineup the following week against the New York Jets. He left the game early before he had even caught a single pass with a back injury, and Gronk had to have surgery yet again to repair a herniated disc, and he was placed on the IR that season. Madden NFL 18, of course, with Tom Brady of the New England Patriots on the GOAT edition of the game. The curse didn't strike this year, as Brady again defied the odds and does what Tom Brady does and avoided injury and avoided the Madden curse at 40 years old. the all-time great continued his stellar campaign through the playoffs, including an epic comeback against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC Championship. He did, however, lose the Super Bowl, but he had a great season on the cover of the Madden game. Oh my God, did the curse strike this year. Madden NFL 19 with Antonio Brown of the Pittsburgh Steelers on the cover. This guy just went completely downhill after he was on the cover of Madden. He demanded a trade. He got traded to the Raiders. Then the Raiders cut him because he didn't want to be on the Raiders. Then he signed with the Patriots. Then this guy is going through all this off-field issues and all this stuff. And then the Patriots cut him. And now he's a free agent, and I don't know where he's going to go. He might go back with Brady in Tampa. We'll see. But this guy just had the worst luck when he was on the cover of Madden. Madden NFL 20. This year's game with none other than Patrick Mahomes on the cover. Mahomes beat the curse. Somehow he beat the Madden curse and won the Super Bowl the year he was on the cover. He's one of the only players to do that, and one of the only few players to actually not have a bad season while being on the cover of Madden. Is he the future? I guess we'll find out in a few years. He already has one Super Bowl ring, but can he get more? That is the question. Hey guys, thank you all for listening to today's episode of the Athletes in Adversity podcast. Make sure to go follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, all at Athletes in Adversity, as well as my Twitter at AthletesPod. Also, go support the show for as little as 99 cents a month right on Anchor.fm. Or if you want to be more generous, go pledge up to $50 a month on my Patreon, Athletes in Adversity. So with that, we're going to end the show today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for listening to the Athletes in Adversity podcast.